So, Maman, thank you for jumping on Inclusive Cyber. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. During our pre-call, your background was just amazing. I'm just looking at my notes. So let's just jump right into it. Can you provide a quick overview of your career journey so far?
Yeah, let me do that. Okay, thank you, Danny, for having me and giving me this opportunity to share a few things about the person I am. I'm a Maman. I come from Niger, Western Africa. I grew up, did my studies there, and worked in Niger as an engineer. Moved to France to resume my studies in radio communication, which become telecommunication, which become networks and which become internet. All this way long for I have been learning uh, everything about telecommunication. I start my professional career when I started working for a public-owned lab in France, a research lab where I worked in computer-aided design of telecommunication device. My topic for my PhD thesis was Wavelet neural network based computer-aided design of telecommunication device. Behind that, you have what is called today some of the drivers for AI. AI is not new. It started in the early 50s, but my work was on that. I developed few models that are still in use. I didn't defend my thesis as I moved away from this lab. I published two international papers about the topic as well, scientific papers that I barely understand now when I read them. And then I started my career really in internet innovation. I did an advanced master in project management and innovation. Then started working in a startup. The company, Riff Internet, the Riff was providing an internet suite. It was quite very advanced for that time because Riff was supposed to provide kind of creating website through a template. Imagine in 1999, you just click, you have a template. The company was acquired, so I decided to create my consulting business. Providing consulting services for companies, project management, innovation, and quality management. So that's where my leadership journey started really, such a way where I focused in building my leadership skills, shaping them until I joined Michelin, then GSK in the UK. And yeah, so this is a little bit about me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that background, Maman. Let's start at the beginning. So, growing up in Niger, how did you get introduced to technology and going into, initially telecommunications and, like you mentioned, which we'll definitely get to, the neural networks and AI as a whole? Describe to me kind of that setting to get you into kind of technology.
So the education system is such that the country focuses on key skills. When you are good at school, you are good in math and physics, you end up in healthcare or you become an engineer somehow in few positions, or you go for pilot. I was good in math and physics. I couldn't go in all this space due to my sight, my eyes. I'm wearing glasses and all this.
Yeah.
So this is just it was not accepted at that time that you become a doctor wearing glasses because they say, oh, sight is important. You see this kind of thing.
Right,
But
right.
it was kind of a belief at the time. So there are criteria, sometimes administrative criteria that no one understands. After high school, I went in an engineering school. I learned electronics, radio communication, and I I was graduated as an engineer in radio communication, and my job was to ensure maintenance of radio and television broadcasting systems. I started my first engagement really technically as an engineer was to transfer 1924 technology to semiconductors.
Wow.
It means that changing the systems, redesigning the system, the electronic systems that were based on old tubes, light tubes, to semiconductors. So this is the first one. It took what? It took nearly a year to redesign the architecture, to identify the component, to assess them, and then to test some of them because we cannot test them live. We had to do some theoretical tests, but also a few on site to see, okay, anyway, if it doesn't work, it's not a big deal. It will not burn the house anyway. Because and then I worked for 5 years in that setting before coming to France. You see, so I went into this just it's a kind of a triage. That's how I end up in technology.
So having a strong background in math and science and physics kind of paved the way for your
Yeah,
initial
yeah.
start.
Mm.
So during that time and how you got into radio and then doing that transition, kind of architectural transformation, right? Did you have any mentors kind of helping you along the way?
Yeah. So the my first mentor at that time was a German engineer. He was he, he was very experienced, had a deep knowledge in telecommunication at that time, radio communication. And he was there to implement some of the new equipment that the country bought. Being a young engineer, just a newbie, he was just before I start something, he was telling me how it can go wrong.
Mm,
It's not kind of, oh, do this, do that, and no, it's just, hey, when you go ahead, watch these signs. This is what will make it go wrong.
right.
You you don't need to know how to get it right. You need to focus on how to identify when it's going wrong. When you see these signs, call,
Yeah.
ask for help, and then we help you. So that's the first mentor I learned with this German engineer. Uh, is something that I use today as well. It's always uh, you are assumed to know what you are doing, right? You are professional, you go for a job, it's your job, you do it. But sometimes you rush, sometimes you have some challenges, sometimes you are not focused, and it can go wrong. The key thing is to know when it's how to identify this shift. Hey, it starts sliding, it's getting wrong. Then this is what I learned first with this mentor.
It's fascinating because he kind of took a different approach, right? The mentors that I have, it's just like you said, okay, do this, do this, do that. But here it's more about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I'm processing this, it's like failure, right? If
Hmm.
you see this, this could be dangerous, call me, right?
Yeah.
If you see that, call me, right? So it's a different way. So I know here in the US in particular, we always elevate success,
Hmm.
but we don't elevate failure. And throughout our lives, it's nothing but failure. For example, as you were talking about being an engineer and having that engineering mindset, that was my initial goal when I started school. I wanted to be an electrical engineer,
Hmm.
but I wasn't strong in math. I wasn't strong in physics. So that's something that I always kind of look back and I'm like, oh man, I failed at that. But that failure didn't define me, right? You just learn and grow and kind of pivot to something else there. I love that perspective and also like you said, it wasn't official, oh, he's my mentor, and he would say to you, oh, he's my mentee. It's just that learning
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. And you see, successful. It's not always doing the right thing right. It's also preventing things to fail. You have to embrace the failure anyway, because you will fail. You don't hold all the knowledge. And one thing that I learned as well, it's a quote from Albert Einstein. It's attributed to him anyway. He said, "You cannot assess an elephant on its ability to fly or a fish on its ability to climb a tree." So if you want to assess success, you should assess it in an environment where it's relevant. Success sometimes is also a failure from another perspective. I embrace both together. Failure is always an option. The only way to not fail is to do nothing. You just sit. Even watching TV, you may mess up the channel at a point of time. Yeah.
So you did the telecommunication work. Was that in Niger or was that when you were already in France?
I started in Niger, and then when I moved to France, I resumed my studies, and then I started working in telecommunication environment. I didn't stay long in that space as I moved to innovation space where the internet was looming.
The startup. So let's talk about that. So how was the environment? I'm assuming it was the late 90s, creating websites, HTML and all the different tools back then. I'm just trying to remember what it was. So describe to me how the startup world was during the late 90s.
I joined that company for my professional thesis, which is about innovation in a multicultural environment. Okay, I joined RIF, and it was weird. The first day when I went there, I mean, people are on the same floor, all collocated. The offices were an old factory. Nothing was really designed as an office in there. I come from a very structured area. You have an office, you have a desk, when you are not available, you go to the assistant who is just in the lobby, just closed. But then people were just moving around, talking when they call, nosy. And I said, yeah, okay, let me first see. So I start socializing with people, introducing myself, and I start by uh, booking meeting rooms to hold my first meeting. I just realized that nothing is working. Nothing formal is working. You book a meeting room and you come, you find some other people in the meeting room, and there's no way for them to leave it. You want to do something, you want a system, the system is used. Everything that you do formally fail. So this is the first thing. The other thing also is the autonomy of people there. You have the feeling that there's no boss in the place. Come from a very structured thing. You want something, you raise a request to your boss, who raise to his boss. So formal. If you want something to happen in that company, you just go and ask and then it's done. You want to talk to the owner, you just go upstairs, he is sitting there.
Yeah.
I was surprised. This is the first. The other thing is that we have to speak English in the workplace. So if you ask to a French guy, the biggest challenge for them in the workplace, even now they will say speaking English is the biggest challenge. And then the diversity, the cultural diversity. It's the same day you will work with someone in California, someone in Australia, someone in India, someone in Belgium, and then I start loving this environment. But in the startup, we are all together independently on who you are. You want to talk to the owner, you just go grab a sandwich with him, and then you have your meeting in the street. So I love that, and that's where I start mentoring people. Mentoring people. When you are struggling, step back, talk to you, understand what's going on, support you. I didn't know that it's part. My personality is is just shaping at that time. You see,
Yeah.
so that's the environment. Also, culturally, let's say they were now it's more in the work that I was doing on the thesis. There were 80 different nationalities. Taking India is one, US is one, Australia is one, just to give you
Wow.
the level of abstraction. Imagine the diversity. People from 80 different cultures working together every day.
The way you describe that, Maman, it really kind of shines the light of what is happening right now, kind of here in the West Coast, primarily of the US, that startup culture, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think my assumption, because I've never been in a startup environment, is the culture is not as diverse in Silicon Valley. Maybe it could be, as at least in the example that you gave, 80 people, so, or 80 different countries being represented, cultures being represented. And I'm with you. I love that environment. I had the opportunity when I was still in government to work over there in the Netherlands and just seeing all the different cultures. I myself straddle two different cultures here in the US. So just fascinating. And it's all about, if you have one mission, doesn't
Hmm.
matter where you come from. As long as you all agree to that mission, then, you're going to accomplish it and do a lot of great things. So appreciate that background. You also mentioned about, the culture, but also the language. Can you describe a little bit about that? Because I'm assuming you speak multiple languages, which is amazing. Talk to me a little bit about that, the language barriers.
Sometimes it's easy. When I was having meeting with my US colleague or Australian dealing with this accent and my English, even now I'm still struggling in English because I'm thinking in French. So imagine you are in a meeting with people you barely speak their language. Okay? You think in yours. You are good in what you are doing in your language, but you have to find the words, the right one to convey the message that you want to convey. What I used to do in this case, I was relying on my friends. I always have a colleague around who will pop up, translate sometime to clarify it. But the thing is, I wasn't shy. I'm still not shy to share. Even now, when I'm struggling, I ask. I may ask you during this conversation some words, but you see, when it happens, I'm not shy to ask because if I don't ask, I will never know. You see? Now, in this case, that's what I'm doing. So, but still, it was hard. Meetings that can last 10 minutes will take an hour. We get through this alive. Here we are now. But it's still, no, it was challenging. But I mean, that's where you grow when you are challenged. When it's continuous, it's exhausting somehow, but you learn. You learn.
So after the startup, talk to me what you did after that.
So what I did after that, I created a consulting company in project management, innovation, and quality management. So project management is straightforward. Innovation at that time was about being able to create an internet site with one page. Now, if you look at it now, you say, oh, okay, that's innovation. But
Right.
yeah, then quality management, because when I started my career, I was also interested in software development processes, capability maturity models at that time. I started providing consulting and this kind of skills are I was able to transfer them in different domains. See, I I helped companies uh, in different sectors. It can be uh, paint producer, yogurt producer, bank, insurance, all these kind of companies where I help them just to streamline their processes. I learned Lean, I learned Six Sigma, I learned theory of constraints all together. But I was still missing the technology piece. So I went back to technology and start working for Michelin tires, then implementing what is today called GRC, but back then it was called internal control framework for IT. And
Right.
then I started my career there in that company.
What was your mindset? Because working for a company or a big corporation or doing your startup is way different from being an entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
And I've talked to many people on this podcast where, for whatever reason, they made that pivot into entrepreneurship. What describe, I guess, your mindset on you're learning all in this startup environment, all these different processes, and to say, well, you know what? I think I could do it on my own with my own companies.
Yeah. So what triggered that was when Rift was acquired by an investment fund, the startup I was working for. Out of around 380 employees in France, uh, two were offered a job. Okay, I was one of them. The other one is someone I'm still in touch with. We become friends now. Who I was mentoring him at that time as well. I didn't know it was mentoring. I thought
Yeah.
about it, and he just asked me, "What are you going to do?" I told him it's easy. If these investors want us to work for them after having acquired this company, it means that they think that we are smart enough to carry on the journey. Okay, if they think I'm smart enough, I'm smart enough to create my business as well. So that's how I created the company. I need to have control over my future now. They just triggered that.
I just love the thought process on that because a lot of
Mhm.
people, based on their experience would have a different approach to say, "Oh man, I'm lucky. I was one of two out of a close to 400 member team to get selected and you should feel happy and fortunate, etc." But your process was, well, if they think I can do it, then I could probably do it on my own. So thank you for sharing that, Maman. Talked about going into kind of the precursor of governance, risk, and compliance, and then auditing. So you transitioned into that field. Can you describe how it was early on and how has it matured to our current time?
What we were focusing on was more the compliance element. Uh, when I moved to Michelin, some regulations were looming about reinforcing control over technology. They started the journey proactively by themselves to have a better control. And when I joined the company, I wasn't only working with tech teams. I was working with the quality management department of the company who are overseeing product quality, all these kind of things. It means that at that time, what we were doing is more complying to the internal process of the organization while getting prepared to the regulations that we see coming. What we did at that time was control over third party. It was obvious because technology was already picking up very, very quickly. So first, control over third party. My first engagement with third party was traveling in back offices in India, then Brazil, then in North Carolina, then back in France, and so on and so forth. The way we are doing assessment to see what are the mandatory requirements that the company expects about data protection, confidentiality, these kind of things. Yeah. And then we implement them. When the regulations were enacted, then we started pulling the regulations provision by provision, see how we can transform them to AI. We use the standards. NIST, ISO French has similar to NIST. They are
Mhm.
very productive in providing guidance as well. So that's how it was. We didn't call it GRC.
Right.
That was the beginning. Control over technology, understanding sometimes how to embed in some of the projects and programs that are initiated, how to embed some controls. We used to call them the non-functional requirement. Okay, we are doing it in a kind of nice way, but
Right.
that was a hobby.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that background, Maman. So let's shift focus to what everyone is talking about these days, right? Generative artificial intelligence. And to your point, AI is nothing new, but I think the generative part with large language models, that might be something new, at least from the public facing side, because now we can use these tools. So I would love to get your perspective. Is it good, bad for society, kind of macro view? And then is it good or bad for IT and cyber? What are your thoughts?
Of course, AI was here for a while. And you are right, generative AI changes the game. Okay. But we forget that AI is about data. Whatever you do with AI, it's about data. There are sometimes if you can take any of these models and you can look at how they are, and you will see that uh, they are not right at every time that you use them. You see, every time that you do a prompt, you have to assume that it's wrong. Uh, uh, my last article with the Isaka was about this autonomous AI as well. You see, so they become it's another thing here. But in that paper, I mentioned the accuracy that is not always there. So it means that it's about data, and the way we use it define whether it's good or bad. I'm happy to use generative AI in my work to help me simplify or learn new things. Okay? But I had some experience in hacking as well. And now the same generative AI that is used to speed the development cycle is used to hack the systems. You see? So it means that it can be good, it can be bad. You can use it to generate uh, someone voice. The first case happened in Asia couple of years back, or a little bit more, couple of years back, let's say, to simplify. And they scammed 25 million. You see, so and it's about innovation. It's good. It can be used for good or for bad. Imagine the cars. When the cars was created, it killed people while it was carrying the load, more load than the previous ways of carrying loads. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they created brakes to allow cars to go fast. This is the thing, not to not to stop them. No, it was I mean to say, okay, you can go fast because you have something that can prevent you to harm. Okay, so this is what we need in the AI space. It's coming. Last week I was in Lac Como with the Global Council for Responsible AI, where we start building a unique framework of responsible AI that embed technical controls, where we have a kind of an alignment with some of the technical control framework like the NIST and some other EU Act and all this. You have also the governance of the Global Council of Responsible AI, who created a governance framework for responsible AI with 7 pillars. These pillars embed the 17 Sustainability Development Goals from the United Nations. It means that now there's a movement that's happening to make AI more responsible. Means that ethics, technology, and governance. These 3 elements should be embedded in every type of framework that we will have, so that we can ensure that AI is used responsibly. On the other side, the way we are using AI also uh, need to be, let's say, we need to think about AI uh, not always as a threat, but you need to think of it on some things that will help us. In the same way, the computer is helping us. this chat that we are having is enabled by technology,
Yeah.
right? So that's my take. In the AI Advantage book I contributed in my chapter, I did it on purpose. I called the chapter Technology and Cybersecurity. One of the elements that I'm highlighting, what drove all the chapter, uh, was human augmented with AI will outpace human and AI working separately. Human augmented by AI. You see? So that's how I see it. I'm convinced that it's a progress because if I look at my back home in Niger, we are using technology. We are leveraging AI to access to areas uh, that are very hard to access. You bring health close to the population. And if you look at the Sahara Desert where I grew up, you have less than a person in 1,000 of square kilometers. The density is that. I mean, you
Wow.
can spend 3 months walking in the desert without seeing a person, you see? So
Yeah.
it means that technology is enabling a lot. If you go in my country, on other country, you will see that health systems are now close to the population. You can be scanned from far. Not only AI is making it easier, but it started before AI, but AI is making it more relevant and the systems can be can learn as well. That's how they built some digital twins. AI is a leverage for that, and then uh, remotely, instead of being let's say constrained by the distance, they can record some information and develop a model, and then use the model to understand what's happening there. It's this kind of thing. It's an advancement, but otherwise we are human. You know, we think. I want to say that's a challenge. In the same way, we have values that are different. Okay, we have challenges that are different. AI is here to stay anyway, whether we like it or not. We just need to tame it, and we can.
A- And you might have already answered my follow-up question there, Maman, but everything that you said, I agree with 100%. Without technology, you and I would have never met.
Yeah.
So I'm a big advocate for technology for sure. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the ethical and responsible use of AI.
Hmm.
Admirable work, but I see that as a positive force. But then on the flip side, there's roughly what, 4 or 5 companies that are pushing AI,
Hmm.
primarily out of the US. And their ethos is to go fast, break things, and repeat. So, how do we get them to think responsibly, to think ethically on these?
Your first statement, going fast, break things, and repeat, is is a natural dynamic of innovation. Naturally, that's it's key. We have to do that. I mean, there's no way that you can change that dynamic because it's getting. We have to go faster every day. But uh, we have regulators. We have some bodies that are there who can help shape the space. The responsible AI work that we initiated last week is this kind of thing that can help regulators to understand what is needed or what may be needed while the innovation is carrying on. We cannot block innovation. We need to do it responsibly. And responsibly doesn't mean you slow it down. It means that you create an environment where you define a frame where all the players will play. Okay? You put all the competitors. You mentioned the these big companies. Okay, leading. That's what these companies are leading. But everything that they are doing sometimes lies on individuals. You see, the movement that happened. It started a couple of months back, where uh, an engineer from Microsoft will go to Google, another one from Google will go to OpenAI, this kind of thing. It's not the case, but there was a lot of 2 months back, they were moving around the same
Right.
guys. They are moving from one to another. Okay. But it means that if you focus on companies, you will never get it right. This innovation is carried by individuals, even if the companies are paying for it, but it's about individuals. And you will see some of the individuals will pick up and start kind of advising for guardrails and all this kind of thing. It happened already about AI 3-4 years back. Some speak up. United Nations now also issued a statement a few weeks back, okay, about responsible use of AI, and this United Nations announcement was triggered by people knowledgeable in science who are working in that space. I trust human. We can do the good, the bad, the ugly, but we know deeply that sometimes there's a step that we will never cross. And if we decide to cross that, the regulator will come and then will make us move backward, to step back. There are things that cannot be accepted. It doesn't mean that, of course, it will always be good. Even today, we have laws. People are going to jail because there are laws. We will have the same pattern, but it will just be faster. And I trust people. Naturally, I trust people. I trust that the, even if you want to make money, somewhere there are some values in you that can kind of call you back.
Yeah. Appreciate your perspective on that, Maman. My take, it's from a 90s kind of show. It was called The X Files, and I'm always an idiot making comments or in my writings on LinkedIn. But the main phrase, it's kind of a conspiracy, aliens from outer space. But as you're saying that, that you trust humans, and ultimately we're imperfect individuals, we're social, but my thought process is I want to believe in humanity, but sometimes there's a lot of things that kind of prevent you from trusting humanity as a whole. But I appreciate your perspective on that. I know we're coming up on time. Can you talk a little bit about your writings? I've been reading some of them, and just amazing, your thought leadership. How did you get into that space, and what would you like the listeners to know about your writings?
Back in Niger, when I was in elementary school, so we were learning French, which is the official language. So usually in the school, uh, when we are having some pause, some breaks, that's some practice that's called the symbol. We are not allowed to speak any other language but French. So if you speak another language, you are given the symbol. If you get back to the class, the one who brought the symbol back to the class is finished. Okay. So we speak French, and I was reading a lot, a lot. Then when I get to high school, I was lucky to have a library. So at the high school, we had a library, a brand new library full of books. I was the only one reading books in that library, at the point where the principal gave me the keys. I can go anytime and read. We didn't have TV. We didn't have all these distractions. Reading. So I read a lot. I read a lot. And I started writing some, just that for fun. I was good at that as well. When I moved to France, I keep reading and writing my thought. You see, I have the books. When I go to conference, I'm picking these and I write. So, long story short, Um, I keep writing. I keep writing. There are some articles that I shared that I wrote more than 20 years ago, but I updated them. I never thought that I was able to publish in last year. It started a year ago, kind of sometime.
Yeah.
And I asked him for help. I tried to write a post on LinkedIn. So said an average post of 800 words. Man, I spent a month. I
Wow.
wasn't happy with it. Then he shared a book with me, William Senzer, on writing well. I read it over the weekend. I started it a Thursday. I finished over the weekend. And I discovered one thing is everything that is said in that book is something that I learned formally. Because back in Michelin, the audit team used to be trained in boot camp every year in writing. We need to convey a message concisely. It's not a kind of you elaborate an audit report or 2, 3 page or whatever summary. No. When we send a note to the president, it's 1 page. 6 months of risks that you assessed and all this should come in a page. I learned to do it in French.
Wow.
For 5 years, I was doing it in French. Then this mentor asked me to write in French and translate. I did it in French, translated it. Okay. I used translation tools. I just move it a little to be sure that I have my voice. I can feel it even in
Right.
English. And then I said, oh, this is right. And I wrote one, and then he found it excellent. I said, "Mm-mm." He said, no, you can do it. You can make it. Your writing is really good. So in English, you can't because I'm still thinking in French. But if I do it in French, I can use specific words
Right.
that I don't have any idea of in English. When I wrote them and translate them, then I learn my English is getting better. My voice is heard.
Right.
So I did that, and then now I'm recycling all my old papers, updating them because these topics never expire, and I'm doing that. And also there's a perspective when some people are seeing when there are some cyber attack, for example, when people are looking at uh, writing about it, about these breaches. I'm not looking about the breaches. The breaches are the consequences of something. I'm going back to the root.
Yes.
I'm going back to the root, and then sometime I request some help from some friends to challenge me and say, hey, what do you think about this being the cause of this?
Right.
You see, and then I write in French, and that I go on. It's more about mentoring is always around, you see. So that's how it. And then uh, I start loving it again. So also, 40 years of experience gives you uh, a perspective that is unique. I have been through all the innovations,
Hmm.
you see. So I can pull back. I can reference some. Some articles that I read, and because I come also from oral culture in my country, uh, I mean, we learn to memorize.
Hmm.
We naturally
Yeah.
do. So it means that there are things that I read years back that I still have in mind, and when something triggers it, I can just link up very quickly. Yeah. So that's
No,
yeah.
no, I appreciate the background, Maman. I know we're past our time here, but just real quick, as you were talking about writing, which I thoroughly enjoy, I need to comment a little bit more. How we close the podcast is books, and like you said, that when you're younger, the principal gave you the key to the library so you can come anytime. So what books have you recently read that just resonated with you, whether it's IT or anything else that you would like to share with everyone?
One book that I love, which is James Carr's Finite and Infinite Games. I love this book. I read it many times. I read it many times. But now, what I'm reading now is the book We the Leader, which is about seeing a leadership as a two-way relationship. When you are leading people, you are led by people, the same people as well. It's a kind of so very interesting one from Jeffrey. Jeffrey's, Jeffrey Span. Let me, it's here. Jeffrey Span, who is a leader. It's not purple, but it's the one that I'm reading. And I love the paper as well because it's always good to have it in hand. You see, this kind of old school. So this is an it's a modern perspective of leadership where people who are already leading themselves in their lives are naturally leaders as well. You just need to give them the environment so that they can thrive.
No, I love that. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. So, Mama, I know we could probably talk for several more hours on
Oh
your
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
career, but I want to be respectful of your time. I just want to thank you for jumping on this podcast and just describing a small portion of your amazing career.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I love it.